Then today we have our final session, and we're delighted to be welcoming Anna Marsh, who is the CEO of Studiocanal. So welcome, Anna. This is fantastic to have you here. A real honor for us. And she's going to be discussing with Rebecca, sharing some insights over the next 30 minutes or so. We do have some people joining us as well on Zoom. So please feel free, people on Zoom, just to let us know where you're from. If you have any questions, we can look at those. Please put them in the chat box. We'll have a review of those. And if you have any, we have some social media channels as well. Please feel free to share on our Festival Biz content. We have Twitter, LinkedIn, an array of social media. So I will now stop. We're going to have a quick video, little clip, and then I will hand you over to Rebecca, who will introduce Anna Marsh. Thank you. Enjoy the session. And I am going to introduce you to Rebecca Leffler, who is an American author, an American journalist based in Paris. She's a former France correspondent of The Hollywood Reporter, and she will be introducing the keynote conversation with Anna Marsh this morning. So over to you, Rebecca.
Bonjour, hello. So, I mean, especially since I've been working in this industry, and I think you as well, Studiocanal has transformed and changed and gotten even bigger and more international. So I guess the first question is, what is Studiocanal? What do you do over there? What do you do specifically?
So, hello everybody, it's really great to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation. That question definitely sort of leads to what could be a very long answer, so I'll try and keep very precise and concise. But you know, look, really Studiocanal is all about quality entertainment, quality European entertainment. Whether we're on the production side or the distribution side, we really pride ourselves in sort of protecting that very core European DNA and ensuring that we seize opportunities to find stories in the heart of what Europe has to offer that resonates through an audience worldwide. We're obviously very active in the film space. We own a film library of over 6,000 titles that we distribute worldwide. And we also make new movies that become, you know, the content and the catalogue of tomorrow. And from there, of late, of the last 10 years, obviously, we've expanded quite actively into television. We'll talk more about that today. But the television industry has obviously taken an important place in our growth strategy. And obviously, just having that bridge between film and television, where talent can really, you know, feel like there's sort of a vast playground to create and tell stories, whether that be on a film medium or a TV series medium. It just makes for a lot more opportunity and exciting opportunities for talent. So. There's a few words. I could go on forever.
No, please do. And you mentioned that, you know, it's European content, but obviously so many projects that you've made they go all over the world, and they're rivaling, you know, major Hollywood productions, and they're co-produced with Hollywood. So I think that's one thing that has changed a lot, especially recently, that instead of watching, you know, foreign language content that was then turned into a remake, people are watching European-made content. Do you see that there's been a change as far as what people are watching and wanting?
No, definitely. I think one of the great sort of trends that has emerged over the last few years, and particularly in this last sort of 18 to 18-month period in the COVID, people have been at home and been discovering that actually foreign language is okay to the ear. You know, before it would always be an English language TV show or movie would be a lot easier to sell, and the audience would be more sort of used to hearing the English language and associate that with sort of the bigger product products. Now what we're seeing in content is that the French language is traveling more and more. You know, we've had really great results. I guess, you know, of late you've seen Arsène Lupin on Netflix, but for the Canal Plus side, you know, you've got Bureau des Légendes. We're, you know, producing Le Baron Noir, for example, that's traveled everywhere throughout Europe. And really, I think, you know, finding ways to tell stories through different mediums that aren't necessarily with, you know, a strong English perspective, which is great as well, but let's tell a story through the lens of a French woman or a French man, or obviously into Germany, where we're also, you know, producing and movies and soon to be TV series there as well. So yeah, I think it's just really educating the audience, and the audience are getting used to watching content told in a different language. Obviously, the Spanish language is also really prominent. I see here at the Monte-Carlo film TV festival, we've got Dos Vidas, which is our daily show that Bamboo are producing, and that's really working brilliantly in Spain. And we know that we've already got some great bites at the apple for some excellent sales around the world. And so it's just great to have the opportunities expand.
And it's a way also, I think, for audiences to travel to places without leaving their homes, which I think was definitely welcome, especially this past year. So I wanted to know just how this past, I guess now year and a half, dealing with COVID and a global pandemic, has changed the way you've, you know, I'm sure you had projects that were halted. Has it changed the way you produce, distribute? What has it changed for you?
Well, first of all, I think what it changed, and for the good, is seeing how teams are working together. And not only within Studiocanal, but also within the industry. Nobody wanted to stop making content and stop telling stories. And the mere idea to sort of think, wow, we might have to just put everything on pause for 6 months, I think was quite frightening for a lot of us who wake up in the morning to really get into producing content. That's really what makes us vibrate, right? So really it was all about pivoting very quickly and finding solutions. And nobody can find solution on their own in their corner. So it's like, okay, let's look at this. How can we put health first and make sure that our crew and our talent on set are looked after, you know, and making sure that obviously everybody's safe in terms of health, but also, you know, sort of looking at the protocol, ensuring that budgets were obviously kept to where they should be, because every cent counts when we're producing a lot of these expensive TV series and movies. So how can we share best practices within the industry to ensure that health comes first, but also we're able to continue to produce and respect those budgetary constraints that could clearly have gotten quite easily out of control because of this new way of working. So agility, I think, in this time has been more than ever important.
But what do you think the future of this is kind of a state of the industry question. What do you think the future looks like? I mean, do you think that people, now that movie theaters are opening again, do you think that digital will stick? Do you think that people, I mean, do you hope that people will go back to theaters? What do you think?
I think what's been really interesting is, and also gratifying during this period, is to see that, you know, there is a consumer out there, and audiences are hungry for content. And so what we need to ensure, obviously, is that the screen never goes dark, that a film will be released theatrically, and then obviously follow suit through VOD, EST, physical video even has been really, really strong during this COVID period. People are continuing to buy our DVDs to, you know, create their collections, attracted by bonus material that are in these DVDs, and give as gifts, obviously. And then obviously down through the pay TV window, SVOD, free TV, and so forth. So I think what's important is that the consumer is there. They are at that rendezvous to watch top quality content, and it's up to us as a distributor to ensure that if a consumer wants to view a film or a TV series, they know where to find it, and they know where to find it legally, obviously, to pay for that content, which is obviously extremely important for all of us in the industry.
Well, you mentioned a lot of platforms, and do you think that the ubiquity of all of these platforms, and the fact that there are so many, is there room for everyone? Do you feel that you have, because originally, I mean, I feel like you were very much one of the only ones doing this, and now there's international productions everywhere. Do you see it as competition, or do you think it's healthy competition? Does it?
So I mean, at Studiocanal, we work with everybody, and I think that that's something really, really important. Is that you know, every film or TV series that we make, it's really a prototype. It's a new experience, and the business model and the creative process is so specific for every project, and we've really tried to tailor each project, you know, creatively close with the talent, which is the most important thing, but also find the right partner business-wise in order to ensure that the project has the best chance of traveling internationally. And when I say internationally, obviously our home is France, but outside those borders of France, it's just really important for us to ensure our content travels. So, you know, look, I think it's never been a more exciting period for Studiocanal, because there is such an array of really wonderful and motivated and really smart clients and customers that are wanting to work with us. So yes, we've co-produced with a couple of films of late with Netflix, A Boy Called Christmas, Last Letter from Your Lover, and others to come. We co-produced a TV series with Apple, which was an adaptation of a Canal Plus original called Calls. And that was a wonderful experience with a super talented team at Apple. It's launched very successfully on Apple, but also on Canal Plus in France. And Studiocanal were at the heart of that production, and obviously the distribution through Apple and Canal Plus has been really strong. And we will continue to do that and explore different ways of working. With Amazon, we have a wonderful film called Louis Wayne, which is starring Benedict Cumberbatch, with whom we also have a relationship in TV. So you can see that ecosystem I was talking about earlier really kind of sings true with a talent like Benedict. So we produced that movie with Amazon, who have rights in the US, and then we go out and we sell the movies to third-party distributors, who will then release the film in theaters outside of the US. So every title, every film, every TV series is sort of adjusted in terms of the best business model possible for the film or TV series in question. So.
It is really an interesting business model. Can you talk about, I'm always fascinated by just the scale of some of the international co-productions that you are working on, just in terms of where are they shooting. I don't know if tax credits have to come into play. You have talent from all over the world. Can you talk about maybe just how some of the titles you're working on and how they come together and how it works, I guess, from a behind the scenes inside perspective?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, every series or film has a different example, but no, absolutely. I think that more than ever, you know, well, independence, we're definitely closer than ever. When I was talking about sharing best practices across the industry during the COVID, it's the same thing when it comes to business. And it's all about making these projects happen and finding the best path for that. So an example maybe of late, what we're putting together is a TV series called Europa, which is based on a series of books written by Dave Hutchinson, which was actually published in 2014. Now these books tell the story, it's an espionage thriller, tells the story about Europe, who is taken over by a flu pandemic, suffering through an economic crisis. And then, funnily enough, there are tiny little nations popping up everywhere throughout Europe, and obviously the spider web of these sort of fragile alliances and relationships with a backdrop of very dangerous technology, and how you know, human beings are facing this crisis and obviously standing up to the machines and the threats that come upon them. So yes, visionary storytelling. The talent we have involved actually come from Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which was one of Studiocanal's very first international movies, starring Gary Oldman at the time. So Thomas Alfredson is back to direct, so he's directing Europa. Peter Strawn, who was a writer of Tinker Tailor, as you know, is writing Europa. And we've got Robin Slovo, who was also a producer on the Thomas Alfredson Tinker Tailor with the working title, is also producing on Europa. So it's really nice actually to ensure that talent don't just come and, you know, produce and work with us one time. The idea is to really create a really familiar family environment where talent enjoy producing with Studiocanal, and they come back. This time it was Thomas with a movie and here with a TV series. So we're going out with that series right now to find international partners, and so far so good. So hopefully we'll have new news for you forthcoming. Another TV series we're doing is called Django. which stars Matthias Schoenhartz and Numi Rapace. So a really great, sexy, star-studded TV series. This is directed by fantastic woman, Francesca Comenici. And it's also produced with Kat Leia, Marco Chimenez, who we had great success with on 000. I don't know if you've seen that TV series, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. And Django actually revisits the brilliant spaghetti western genre. And basically is set in the 1860s and 1870s in the Wild West, where there's a new town called Babylon, which is the new Babylon, which exists and welcomes outcasts, whether they be men, women, or any and all backgrounds. Everything seems to be quite nice and calm until Django arrives in search of his estranged daughter that he lost when she was 8. Ooh. And then it takes off.
Sounds intriguing.
So look, we're really passionate about what we make. As you can see between Europa and Django already, those are two very different propositions creatively. And, you know, working with a male director who's, you know, Swedish and super talented, and Toma, and also Francesca, a really talented female Italian director. And I think diversity is also really important, giving, you know, women in particular opportunities to really show their stuff. We're very careful about those choices as well at Studiocanal. So,
but within all of this diversity and international culture mixing, what are the challenges involved? Have there been, you know, in terms when you're mixing cultures, you're mixing different ways of, I mean, I'm sure different industries, they produce in a different way, they have different ways of doing things. What are the challenges? And also I'm curious if there have been, in terms of distribution and audiences, if there are anything that surprises you. You think, oh, this will definitely appeal to this type of audience, and then maybe it's actually a huge hit in some other territory that you weren't expecting.
I guess that's kind of what's so exciting about what we all do is that you're marrying art and business. And when you're marrying art and business, there is certainly some science to it, but not always. And I think that the whole subjectivity and the surprise that comes with art, for me, it personally makes me excited and happy to get up in the morning, because we're constantly reinventing the wheel. Obviously, we try and test concepts. We test titles. We sometimes test, you know, certain packages. But at the end of the day, the numbers are a guidance, and I think you've really got to feel it in your gut. And I think surprises are a good thing, because we learn from those surprises, we learn from our mistakes, and it's constantly readjusting and retracing our path to excellence, I think. And we always have to be striving to do better, you know, the audiences are also expecting that from us, you know. We just can't sit back and land on the status quo, right? We have to, you know, constantly push boundaries and question ourselves. And we love debate at Studiocanal. There you go, that's one thing. It's not just, you know, and actually my boss, who's an amazing person who you might know, is Maxime Sarda. When we meet, we love to debate creative. You know, we talk numbers, and numbers are super important. Obviously, it's the rock, because it, you know, we're part of the Vivendi Group, a publicly listed company. But at the end of the day, I think if you're convinced creatively about the choices, the talent you're working with will feel that, and then it all becomes, you know, we're diving off the deep end, and we're all in this together, and we're holding hands, and I think that's that for me is really, really important, because there's no perfect science, there's no perfect answer, and thankfully, I would say.
But I think working from the heart, from the gut, just even the mention of the words art and creativity is very much part of the European model, and specific also, I think, to Studiocanal. And I know you have talent from all over the globe. I think Xavier Dolan and all the people that you've mentioned. What do you think it is about this model that they prefer, especially today with all the control of, you know, when you have the platforms that kind of want to control everything, and the way Hollywood studios have always operated?
Yeah.
Does that make it you more flattering?
Yeah, no, look, I think that, you know, I mentioned before that we work really well with everybody, and platforms are actually really collaborative, you know. It's just sort of getting your mojo and speaking the same language, and again, understanding each other creatively. And I think it's also giving ourselves time to find that balance. I think it's also not about rushing into things. It's really about thinking deeply, is this project right to go now? you know, in terms of the storytelling, the details about the development of the script. You know, we will only go and package something or go into production if if the teams are unanimously ready for that. And if there's doubt, then we have to feel safe in order to put our hand up and say, hey, look, I think we need to work on this scene or this particular, you know, piece before we feel confident to go out. So I think talent really need and appreciate that honesty as well, and feeling trust with the studio. And again, as I said, like, nobody knows perfectly what the answer is. There is no perfect answer. So again, it's just working through that creative process, you know, day after day, week after week, in order to get a project to a place where everybody feels comfortable. Yeah, and look, I would also say that the Vivendi Group have an array of opportunities that we tap into at Studiocanal. You know, we're part of Canal Plus Group, who are, you know, present in 40 territories worldwide, with a, you know, massive subscriber base of more than 22 million subscribers. So that's really a great opportunity for us to be close to the audience, and understand what audiences in different pockets of the world are looking for. And we exchange a lot with our colleagues on a very regular basis as to, you know, what audiences are wanting, and to adjust our creative strategy, you know, as a consequence. As part of the group as well, we have Editus, which is a publishing company. So obviously, being close to the story, and again, it's all about story, finding those unique stories in Europe to tell. One of the examples actually of success of late has been a book written by Marc Levy, who's a really fabulous author and part of the Editus Group. We're adapting one of his books called All Those Things We Never Said, which is a 10-part half-hour series starring the brilliant Jean Reno, who just shot a TV series for Bamboo, for Teresa, called A Private Affair, and then came on to make this TV series with us called All Those Things. So again, that's talent sort of, you know, sticking with us, and accepting to go from one project to another, and we're very, very grateful. So very excited about that. And actually, next to Jean Reno, I'll mention a brilliant German actress called Alexandra Maria Lara, who was in The Reader and Rush, and the two of them on screen, I have to say, because I was lucky enough to go to the set, it's quite mind-blowing. So watch this space.
Well, I think timing is everything too. I mean, you know, you mentioned, like, you can be surprised, you can study, and you can have the perfect formula, and you never know. And so I think timing also, like a global pandemic, and it's impossible to predict what's going to be happening in the various territories in the world. So I think there's that element as well. But I'm curious, you know, you're making all of these, you mentioned so many different projects you're working on. Are you ever able to watch TV series or movies just for fun and pleasure? Or are you always in the back of your mind thinking, oh, this is a great little show I found, oh, maybe we should do a remake, or, you know?
Yeah, no, honestly, I think this is just the, can't remember, there's a phrase in French that slips my mind, but it's really like a défaut professionnel, you know? You're always watching a TV series or a movie with something in the back of your mind, but actually I quite enjoy that. I mean, because I love content myself, I'm always watching something and getting an idea. You know, you're spotting an actor or an actress or a director that you've sort of blowing you away and you didn't really expect it. When I'm working on kids stuff, I'm always testing my kids. Okay, did you understand that passage? What was this? So, I think you have to really pull from the resources you have around you and in your personal life in order to push oneself professionally. And I think the boundaries of, you know, look, in this industry, we're lucky because the boundaries of the professional and our private lives are obviously by definition quite close, but I think I'm just really lucky to work in this industry because of that. I know that with Françoise and all of the team, we're always watching everything and exchanging comments or critique or giving each other recommendations. With Maxime, it's the same. You know, we're watching everything, and I feel really passionate about that. Actually, one of the last TV series I watched and I loved was The Mayor of Easttown. I'm sure you've all seen it, but Kate Winslet is extraordinary. And I've just got hooked on Dos Vidas. I met the 2 actresses last night who are just gorgeous. So I recommend very highly.
You just met them.
You get hooked.
Yeah. And yeah, do you have anything else, other projects that you want to talk about that are near and dear to your heart?
There are so many
that we haven't gotten to. Well, and another question, I guess, basically is, what do audiences want now? Like you mentioned, what your kids are watching, what you like, what other people are watching. What type of content? Is there a genre that's really working right now? Like people are wanting, because they've been sad, they're wanting kind of escapist thrillers or romantic comedies, or is it half-hour formats? Is it that can go, because people don't have longer attention spans, or do they want more historical content? What is there a trend that you're seeing?
I think I always find it really difficult to sort of answer that question and put it in a box, because the world changes so quickly, and I think we've seen that of late. It's just a manifestation of, never say never anymore, right? So I would loathe to sort of give you an answer and then next week there's going to be something else that pops up. But definitely I think that bite-sized 26-minute format is something that we're seeing emerge for those same reasons, that, there's sort of that tendency to binge watch, and time is precious, obviously. We know that these days. But equally, I think it really comes down to very strong, high quality storytelling and unique storytelling, and that's what makes our job so difficult, because how can you comp uniqueness? How can you comp originality? So that's where we have to take risks in order to say, hey, you know what, we believe, and just run with it. I definitely think the audiences are looking for escapism, and sometimes that escapism, if you look in the box office right now, The Conjuring is working super well. So it's waking our emotions up. And it's that emotional connection as well with characters. And when I mentioned The Mayor of Easttown, I think that's what was so amazing about that series. It was a really profound character study, incredibly incarnated by, some super talented, hardworking actors. And that's also what it comes down to, is hard work as well. Look, you don't get anything without a bit of effort and trying. So, and that's where passion comes into it. That's what drives us to put the hours in and put the hard slog in, and, calls at all hours of the night to get a project up and running. I definitely don't count my hours. So.
Yeah, no, I think you said it best when you said that they want good stories. And I think that when you're doing things with passion, and it starts there, and then audiences, when they see that, they can sense that, and then they'll feel that passion, and it's kind of a circle that travels across.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think it's also about working with visionary directors that, I love meeting with the talent behind the camera, because they'll come in and, maybe I've read a script and I'm not so sure, I've got the imagination in my head, but I need to know what she or he, how they see the TV series or the film. And I think having that exchange with the producer and the director just, it really sort of transcends the project. It's the first phase of turning what's on the page, into some form of concrete reality. Because really what we do is quite ephemer, it's very much intangible. Which is another kind of difficulty about our jobs, because we're not, producing, tables or pens. We're producing stories.
Emotion, yeah.
And at the end of the day, stories are les contes. See, I'm forgetting my English. It's very strange.
No, but I think that's what, content connects people all over the world. And I think, when you're making things that can reach people in their core, in their emotions, everyone is the same. I think we learned that this year with the pandemic, that wherever we are, we're all the same. So if you're telling stories that, reach people and certain emotions, that you can reach everyone all over the world.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Do we have any questions here? N'aie pas peur. Any questions? Are there questions from Zoom? No.
Just one question again.
Oh,
hello. Sorry. Hi, I'm Eunice. Just a question. When you talked about choosing the content,
yes.
What speaks louder? I mean, when you meet all the directors and the content, what is like creativity, art, or the business side of it? How do you conciliate both? Is there criteria, for choosing or producing?
Yeah. It's a very interesting question, and I think something that I continue, we all at Studiocanal toy with on a daily basis. I don't think it's very difficult to make a decision based on one side of the brain without the other. So I think it's really about, it really is about that balance. At the end of the day, however, you do, as I said before, have to take that leap of faith, and that's when your gut, will tell you, and that's where, we have to make the economics work, and thankfully at Studiocanal we do make the economics work. We're careful, for sure, about the numbers and making sure that we're making calculated decisions. But I would say if there would be sort of a tipping point, it's always going to be the creative that's going to push you to choose. So yes.
It's very Studiocanal, very European. I think that describes what. No, but I really do think I've seen it from all aspects, and I think from the beginning, you've changed it goes back to the first question of, you've changed forms, you're doing more things, you've expanded to television and kind of adapted to the times, but at the core, it's the same, I think, from the beginning.
Yeah.
If I may.
No, for sure, definitely. And I think also another thing that's really great, from the pandemic and the way things have evolved of late at Studiocanal is that more than ever the boundaries between film and television are completely seamless. One of the examples that we have with Françoise here is an opportunity that came from a contact in the film business, a very, very good client in Canada who came to me with a project that was Xavier Dolan's very first TV series. And Xavier Dolan is obviously a director we all dream of working with, have great creative mind and a visionary director. And we read the scripts, we fell in love with the story. Canal Plus Création Originale also came on board thanks to that relationship. And we're off to the races making this 5-part, 1-hour TV series with a talent like Xavier Dolan. So it's just great to give opportunity, and sort of we may develop a film, for example, that we can't quite get right. So creatively, we're just not ready to go for it. And then we might come and see Françoise and the TV team take a step back and say, actually, this story might be better told as a 3-part hour or a 6-part 26, and then it just clicks. And there's a moment where it clicks, I think, to answer to your question, and that it's time. And then obviously getting green light and convincing our investors who have been very, very supportive at the Canal Plus Group and Vivendi is also a really key part in keeping that momentum. So.
I have a question. Does anybody else have a question? No? Can I have a question? Can I ask a question?
Please, yes.
So thank you, Anna. That was great. It was lovely to hear from you, also from the industry side, because we've had lots of producers, their stories of everything they've been going through. So it's lovely to hear from the kind of industry, the executive side. I just have a question, because it's really lovely to have you at the Monte-Carlo Television Festival as well. And just from your position and from, Studiocanal, the position of the Monte-Carlo Television Festival or any festivals, what is the importance for the Studiocanal and also the series in this day and age when so much is going digital, this kind of, I know we've been through the pandemic, but how important is this to get the programs out, to the audience, to the press? And
I would say it's absolutely essential, and I just met Laurent earlier just saying thank you for making this happen this year, because the easy answer would have been take a step back and just put the show on pause this year. But what it does is that courageous step and making this happen, even with the hybrid format, just ensures that our TV series are eventized. Because as you said, there's a lot of content out there, and one of the questions I'm sure you all have is how do you exist with the plethora of incredible offer of great content really out there. And I think that's where your role, and obviously this year at the 60th anniversary history of the Festival de Télévision de Monte-Carlo. It's just super important for that. It's bringing the talent. You know, look, the ladies from Dos Vidas have left the shoot for 2 days, which is a lot in a week of a daily show, to come here, to meet the press, to meet you all, and to just ensure that the show exists on another level and on an international stage. So absolutely vital, I think, both for producers and talent in front and behind the camera, but also industry executives like myself, who may not have, especially now, the opportunity to meet you all on a regular basis because of the COVID, but also because of the lack of in-person meets. And actually, this crisis has gone to show, it has really put the spotlight on the fact that we human beings need that interaction. And it's all very well doing business on Zoom, but I think now I kind of feel like we're ready to get back out there and just meet each other and look each other in the eye and get a feel of, you know, where we're really at together. Yeah,
no, and I've seen that even with the fans meeting the talent. I mean, these are people you invite, especially with television, I think also with film, but especially with television, you're inviting the people into your home, into your lives, and so they feel a closeness, and I think there's something, you know, that we can all be together even if we're wearing masks. And
yeah, I agree.
So yeah, no, I think that was really amazing. And
great, thank you.
Thank you so much. We look forward to now watching everything that's currently in production.
There are many others that
we'll be very busy.
I won't bore you with it today.
We're allowed to go outside now, but now we don't have to. We can just sit at home and watch all of Studiocanal.
No. Please go to the cinema as well.
Oh, the cinema.
I have to say, there's nothing quite like it.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Thank
you, everybody.
Thank you, Anna Marsh, CEO Studiocanal, Rebecca Lepper. Thank you so much. Goodbye from us.